Hi, in today's video I'm going to be talking about relay-mpv, which is a script I wrote a couple of years ago and have updated to use Rust and uploaded to GitHub. So what does it do? Relay-mpv is a Rust script that uses MPV to stream either local or remote videos into OBS Studio media sources. You can either play the entire video or optionally specify a start and end time for the clip. And because MPV uses yt-dlp as a dependency, you can stream any video supported by yt-dlp into the OBS media source. The script streams to a named pipe whose location is added as the OBS media source, and the video only starts playing into the pipe when you switch to the media source, allowing you to pre-queue a video in the terminal. There are pre-built binaries for Linux and NixOS, so you don't need Rust installed to use the script. macOS and Freebsd users will have to install Rust and build a project, which doesn't take that long, and the reason for that is that I can't build binaries for those systems on my setup. Windows doesn't have a named pipe, so relay-mpv doesn't work on Windows. So what I'm going to do is actually show you this in action. So if I switch across to show you OBS Studio, I've got several scenes set up: laptop, monitor, both displays, media and pip, and those have the media source set up that points to the named pipe that the script will create. So what I'll do is I'll switch to the media source, and what I'm going to do, actually I'll show you in the terminal. What I'm going to do is run relay-mpv-h to show the options. So you give an input, which can either be a local file or a remote URL, and that will play the entire video. But if you add the -s and -e options with a start time and an end time, you can actually play a clip from either the local or remote file, the remote video. So you can give it a start time in hours, minutes and seconds, and an end time in hours, minutes and seconds to play a particular section of the clip. What I'm going to do is run relay-mpv big buck bunny. I'll switch to the media source and press play, and you'll see here it's actually using MPV to play that video into the pipe, which is then being read by OBS Studio and displayed in the media source. So I can quit in the terminal, and I can do the same thing with a different video. This is Elephant's Dream by Blender as well. So what I can do is, if I come across, I can actually specify a start and end time for the clip. So what I can do is, using a local clip, I can run relay-mpv-i, the path to the clip, -s for the start time in hours, minutes and seconds, so that's 1 minute 15, with an end time of 1:25, so that's a 10-second clip. So if I then switch across to the media source, it will start playing that section of the video. Okay, so what I want to show you is sometimes you will get this error. Encode writing packet failed. So you can see the first time I ran the script, it actually failed, and the reason for that is sometimes the pipe is not clean. Even though the script cleans up after playing a clip and before, it's just the interaction with the pipe and OBS Studio sometimes causes this error. So what I'm going to do is see if I can just show you that again. So here's the command. You can see writing packet failed. If you just run it again, it will actually work. And so this isn't actually really an issue, too much of it. It's annoying, and I haven't figured out a workaround, but it's not really too much of an issue, because what we're actually doing is we're running this command while we're in another scene, so that when we switch to the media scene with the source and we don't have that error, the video will play properly. So if I switch to the media source, you can see here it's now going to play that section of the video. Okay, I'll switch back to the laptop. So that's using a local file. So let's have a look at using a remote file. And again, the best way to do this is to queue this up while you're on another scene. And then once it's set up, you switch to the scene with the media source and the video will start playing. Okay, so what you can do is actually create a text file with the URLs that you want to paste into the terminal and the timestamps ahead of time, rather than manually typing stuff out. So what you can do is you can label the commands, as it were. So apple squishes butterfly, bunny hit with nuts. So I know what this actual command is referring to in the video. So what I'll do is I'll queue that up, and if we get the error about not being able to write the packet data, we can just press up on the key on the okay, there we go, writing packet failed. So that's why you do it ahead of time, just in case that happens, and then you'll see it will come up saying opening output file temp relay. And then when I switch to the media tab, it's going to start playing. So this is playing online from YouTube. You can see there's no buffering, no stuttering, no network issues. And there we go, it stopped. So what's actually happening is, if I show you temp, you can see this relay file here. So that's the actual pipe. And you can tell it's a pipe because you have a look at this section up here. See, this is specifying the D is a directory read, write, execute. Whereas this section here, it starts with a P, indicating it's actually a pipe. And you can see it's colored differently in the terminal. So what we can do is queue the video up and then switch to a media source and have the video play. So what I'm going to do in this case is I have a media source set up, but I also have another scene called picture-in-picture, or PIP for short. And you might be familiar with YouTube reaction videos where they have someone reacting to a video in a small picture-in-picture window in the video, or a new style channel where you'll have someone's head in the camera on the left and then a video on the right that they're commenting on. So to recreate that that style of video, what I've done is taken a still from the David Pakman show where he's on the left hand side and the video is on the right hand side, and then added the media source above that image and positioned it in the right place. So you'll get the gist when I play this. So I've already put that in there. So what I'm going to do is run that, see if I get an error. This is why we queue it up beforehand, just in case we get an error. Okay. I've gone through various different permutations of trying to get rid of this write packet error, and it seems to be sort of triggered by a different combination of things. But as I said, it's not too much of an issue because you're doing this off camera, as it were. So now what happens is I'm going to switch to the picture-in-picture scene, and you'll see what I mean. So what we have here is a sort of reaction style, and I can switch to the media tab. I can switch back to the picture-in-picture. Okay, so you can see how that that effect works. So it's useful if you want to have a way to have different layouts for the let me show you different layouts for the media scene. So what I've got here in the media scene, can't actually click into the media scene because it will then stop showing OBS Studio. But as you saw in the media scene, I've got the video full screen, whereas in the picture-in-picture scene, it's small and in the top right. And you can reuse the same media source and resize it and display it in different ways in different scenes without it affecting how it appears in other scenes. So, as I said, it was full screen in the media scene, but it was sort of quarter size in the top right-hand corner in the picture-in-picture screen. So the advantage of this is that rather than using multiple media sources for each video that you want to display, you just use one media source and then pipe the video into it using MPV. So what I'm going to do now is switch back across here. And another thing that you can actually do is play, you can actually pause the video. Now, there is a... okay, what I need to do is open the link. Okay, so there's a program called OBS Command, and what that does is it works with the OBS Studio web server socket and allows you to control OBS Studio from the command line. And what you can do after installing it and setting it up, as shown here, is you can get the current scenes, switch scenes, toggle recording, streaming, virtual cameras, switch scenes here. But the interesting thing is the media input control. And what we can do is play, pause and stop the media source. And the reason that's useful is because when you're using a named pipe as opposed to a actual video file as a media source in OBS Studio, you don't get the player controls to pause the video come up in OBS Studio. So in the GUI for OBS Studio, you don't have a method to actually pause the stream, but you can get around that by using OBS media source. So what I'll do is actually play Elephant's Dream. Did I have Elephant's Dream set up here? Okay, so Elephant's Dream, I'll give it a start time, say 2 minutes 30 to 3 minutes 30. Okay. So it's going to create a 1 minute clip from the local file. What I'm going to do is come across to my notes here and just make sure I've got this off. Okay, so this is the command for OBS command. OBS command media input pause and then the name of the media source. In my case, it's called relay. So we've got pause, play, and stop. So what I'll do is I'll just get that set up in the terminal. Actually, what I'll do is I'll show you with an online clip, which is better because it will show you that even though we're streaming from an online clip, when you pause it and play it, it will resume it without any buffering. So what I'm going to do is actually run this, and this may trigger the error. So if so, I'll just rerun it. So it said it takes about 2 or 3 seconds to kick in. Right, you can see that happened. It's just a dirty pipe. So we run it again and it's fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is if I switch to the media source to start playing instantly.
It's empty.
and now I've paused it. So I've run the OBS command to actually pause the scene. And what I'm going to do is actually restart it. And you'll see that there's no delay in it actually restarting. Pause it again. Okay. Play. So this is useful if you were talking about a video or something and you kind of wanted to pause and go, oh, that's a great moment, you know, you've just been jacked by some sinister gangster looking bloke, and then you can resume playback.
Just a trim, please. Agent Kratos.
Okay, pause it. Play it. And quit. Okay, so switch back to the laptop. So that's sort of pausing and playing a online clip using these commands. OBS command media input. Let's just make it a bit bigger so you can see it. Pause, the name of the media source, and then play and also stop. And that's because, as I said, you don't actually get the playback controls coming up when you're using a named pipe as opposed to a video file. So let's come back to that's agent. One of these videos, agent 327 Operation Barbershop. So what we can actually do is we can actually pick another video here. So it's animated short, and we'll run relay. Give it a URL. Even though this is a playlist URL, it will work. Start and give it the first 30 seconds. And again, what we'll do is we'll do this off camera. So if there is any issues with the pipe not being clean, so as you see here, sometimes it just fails. You just run it again. And we're ready to go. So you queue it up ahead of time, make sure everything's working, then you switch to the media source. So as you can see here, I switch to the media source. It's going to start playing. Okay, I'll leave this for the last 10 seconds. And it's going to stop now. Okay, so kind of the advantage of this is instead of having a browser open and having that as a source in OBS Studio and then having to kind of, you know, I mean, for example, like suppose I was actually capturing the video. Suppose I wanted to capture, you know, from 59 to whatever. You kind of got to wait for it to catch the buffer to catch up, and then sort of on camera you're kind of then, okay, I'll put this full screen and then play it, and then you'll see the video overlay in the actual video. So if I let that disappear, will it disappear? Hang on. And then I can press space. But it still comes up as it's actually playing, if you see what I mean. So as I'm pausing it and playing it, I'm still getting the YouTube interface showing up in the actual recording, as it were. Let me just go back and close that. So let me just pre do that again and said, have tried to fix this error, but it's just a combination of OBS Studio and how it interacts with the pipe. And I'll show you the settings that I've actually been using for the media source that actually dictate how this works. So now, as I said, I've queued this bit up. So I just wanted to show you the difference between capturing the video using the browser and having the interface showing up with actually how it looks using the script. I don't know if this is the right size for picture in picture. Yeah, so there we go. So I can switch between these two scenes, as you see. And then as I come out of that, it will actually stop the video playing. Okay. And so you can see this writing packet failed, and that's what happens sometimes when you actually switch scenes before the video has finished playing. And that may be one of the causes as what triggers the actual bug with the pipe. There are various permutations of what can actually trigger the issue. So that's actually sort of the difference between using YouTube and OBS, the relay-mpv script. Kind of the other issue, if you're actually you got this open, so you're playing it, is you kind of got to switch back between tabs, and you've got something full screen sort of running on a different workspace. If you don't have, and it could be more of an issue on things like the Mac, which doesn't handle things full screen very well. It just means that you've got something playing full screen in another workspace, as opposed to just a script sort of running. So what we can do is actually just take the URL from here. They just paste that in, and close that. Queue it up. I said it may just, a lot of the time it happens. It may be because, okay, it's not happening this time, but when I switch across to the media tab, it's going to kick in straight away. So this is playing the full URL without a start and end time. And one thing to note is that you can't use the keyboard shortcuts in MPV in the terminal to actually skip ahead and behind in the video. I'll just quit that. Okay. What I'll do is I'll specify a start time. So let's play a section of the video to 1 minute 30. So yeah, that was without a start and end time. It's going to play. If I switch to the media tab like this and press return, the issue with doing it this way is that there's going to be a couple of seconds delay before it actually starts playing. Okay, so I got the right packet failed error. So I'm going to press return again, and this time it should work, but there's still going to be a 2 or 3 second delay while yt-dlp actually gets the stream URLs. So I'm going to press return now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6. And now it's going to start kicking in a second. There you go. So that's why we don't start on the media scene with the remote clip, is because there is actually going to be a delay while it fetches the stream. Whereas if I do it like this, and again, this is going to trigger the error, and sometimes it may be triggering the error when you're on a different scene. I mean, there's so many different sort of permutations of what actually causes the pipe to get dirty and not be able to write to it. Okay, we got this queued up. So basically, what you do is you queue it up ahead of time. Once you see opening output file temp relay, basically what's happening there is MPV is writing the data to the pipe so that when you switch to the media scene, it kicks in straight away. And again, this allows you to jump to a certain point in the video. So click in here and it's going to start playing straight away. And again, I can pause. So what I've just done there is I've got tmux open, and in another pane I have the play pause button, so I can just basically go up through my history and toggle play and pause on and off. Play. Pause. So the neat thing about this is there's no delay actually restarting the video. It will just resume instantly. So it allows you to actually, if you're commenting on a video, for example, in a reaction style or a news style channel, it allows you to instantly pause the video that's playing, waffle on about something or other, and then instantly resume it. Okay, so this is going to end in a second or two. I can just press Q in the terminal to actually stop it playing. Okay, so what I want to go through now is actually the setup for the media source, and also hope if I go across here. So what I want to do is actually show you how the media source is set up to work with the pipe. So what I have here is a scene called media, and in the sources section here, basically you just right click and then do add media source, and these are the settings that are needed for this to actually work. So first of all, we uncheck local file, and then we have restart playback when source becomes active, and we set the network buffering right back to 0. And in input, what we have is /tmp/relay. And this is the location of the pipe that is created by the script. We then have the reconnect delay set to its minimum. And then what we have here is these three options: use hardware decoding when available, show nothing when playback ends, and close file when inactive. So these three here determine how OBS actually works with the pipe. So it may be some combination of the three that actually causes the error for the pipe not to be properly cleaned. So I'm not exactly. So you do actually want. I found these are the ones you do actually want checked, even though sometimes you get the issue with the command not running in the terminal. But you can play around with the permutations and see if you can actually come up with something to fix that bug. The issue is when you uncheck some of these, what will happen is when you switch to another scene, the video will continue playing. So I do think you need restart playback when source becomes available, show nothing when playback ends, and close file when inactive. So those are the settings for the media source. As I said, we uncheck the local file, put in the path to the pipe, and have these options enabled. Now the next thing that you actually want to do And the reason I'm showing you this in screenshots is because it's a bit difficult while you're recording with OBS to actually show the option. Sometimes it doesn't let you show the windows. So what I've got here is the media source selected, media scene, and then the media source, which is called relay selected. And this is the audio output here, and you can see this middle one here. This is the audio track for the relay media source. And what I've done is click those three little dots and selected advanced audio properties. So you select the media scene, you select the three dots, and then advanced audio properties. And then after that, this is going to open a window similar to this. And what you can see here is I have three options, three settings: desktop audio, relay, and snowball, which is the microphone. So first of all, what we have is the desktop audio, and that is how OBS Studio records what's playing on your system, basically. And what we've got here is we've got this set to monitoring off, so that it doesn't, you don't hear, I've got it set so you don't actually hear what's playing on the system, because sometimes it can be a bit distracting. But what I have here is the relay source, and this is set to monitor only, mute output. So what this is doing is desktop audio is recording what's playing, but you're not hearing it. Whereas the relay source, you can actually hear the audio because you want to be able to hear what's going on in the clip, but it's muting the output. And what that means is it's not recording that audio. And the reason why we want to do that is because the desktop audio will actually record the audio that's being played with the media source. Yeah. And then we can monitor the output of the media source without it being recorded. And the reason you do that is because otherwise it would record the audio twice, once from the desktop audio and once from the media source. So desktop audio monitor off and relay only, mute output. Okay, so that's the settings for the source. What I also want to show you is, okay, so what I have here is my .config mpv.config file, which is the configuration file for MPV and the default location on Linux. It may be a different location on the Mac. And what we have in this section is yt-dlp format. And we have best video, height under 1080 or under, best audio best. And what this does is, this means that when I play a video using MPV and there's a 4K version, it just plays a 1080p or smaller version instead. And what we have here is what's called profiles and automatic profiles. So we have the default profile, which is this one here, HW decode. And what we have in this section, I have specified the yt-dlp format options I just showed you. And further down, what we have here is this YouTube conditional auto profile, which matches any YouTube URL. And what it does is it uses a regular expression to check for YouTube URLs, basically if it's got YouTube in the URL. And if so, what it will do is it will use this profile. And we include the default profile with the yt-dlp settings, and you can actually override the settings from the default profile in here. And what this allows you to do is actually have different conditional profiles for different streaming sites, for example, YouTube or archive.org, and they can have different settings in them. But as I said, what I recommend is actually specifying this option in your mpv.config, which will be picked up by the script to play only 1080p or less videos. as opposed to trying to play a 4K video, which would saturate the pipe and cause buffering and stuttering. So that's how we get a buffer-free and stutter-free playback. So that's the MPV setting. So what I want to do is actually just go through how you get this installed. So URL GitHub Napoleon Wilson /Rust scripts. And I've got two scripts in here, relay-mpv, which is the one I'm discussing, and another one called pinch, which is used to take a YouTube URL or any URL supported by yt-dlp and then send the audio to MPD, the music player daemon. But I won't be covering that now, but you can have a look here. So this is the actual script, and what I'll do actually is just come across to my notes. Okay. HIJKLMNOP with O. OBS Studio. Okay. relay-mpv. So these are the actual sort of notes I went through, and how you set up the media source. So those are the actual options that you need to check that I went through in the screenshots, and sort of some of the commands that I was actually sort of showing you how to use. But this is the actual README. So what I'm going to do is come down to the scripts install section, and the script has a couple of dependencies that you need to install. So for NixOS, you can use Home Manager and install ffmpeg, MPV. ffmpeg's not really needed, but it's good to have in your system anyway, so that's why I just mentioned it. yt-dlp and Dino, which is a dependency for yt-dlp. And what you need to do to actually get this set up is, first of all, create a bin directory in your home using mkdir-p /bin. And then if you're using the ZSH shell, what you do is you edit your ZSH env file. And what you need to do is set up the path to include the bin directory that you created. And the way you do that is by using the following code, where we have the path set with home bin and then path, and that will add the bin directory to your path. Then you source the ZSH env file. If you're on bash, what you do is edit your bash rc and add this code, which checks if the bin directory exists, and if so, adds it to the path, and then source your bash rc. Then what you need to do is actually download the latest release. So if I come across to the releases, the latest one I did is version 2. So for NixOS, what you want to do is download the tar-gz and the SHA-256. And what we'll do is we'll just check that works. So we've got the two files there. Run the SHA-256 checksum. It will tell you the files downloaded properly. Okay. Then we extract the archive by running tar-xf and the path to the gz file. So if we have a look inside that directory, we'll see the two scripts, pinch and relay-mpv. And then simply you move the scripts into your bin directory by running the following command. So on Linux is basically the same sort of deal, but in this example, what I'm doing is I'm using the commands for Debian or Ubuntu. If you're using a different distro, you need to replace the commands with the ones for your package manager. So on Debian or Ubuntu, we'd install ffmpeg, just on the safe side, MPV. But what we're going to do is actually manually install yt-dlp because the version that's usually included in the repositories for things like Debian or Ubuntu is usually quite outdated. If you're running something like Arch or something, you could probably install a more recent version using the AUR or something like that. At least on Debian and Ubuntu, what we're going to do is manually install yt-dlp by running the following command, which will download the latest release, which is 2025-12.08. If you're using a newer version, obviously you'd replace this URL with the newer URL, and then we specify the out path. So we're going to save yt-dlp into bin yt-dlp. You then make yt-dlp executable, and when you need to upgrade it, you run yt-dlp-U to upgrade. The next thing you need to do is actually install Dino, which is a requirement for yt-dlp these days. And you can do that just by running this command, and that will install Dino. And to upgrade Dino, you'd run Dino upgrade. So on Linux, what we need to do is a similar type of setup on NixOS. We create the bin directory with mkdir-p /bin. Then we edit our zsh-env file if we're using the zsh shell. And what we need to do is actually change the path slightly differently. And what we have to do is add the home bin directory, but also home/.dino bin, which is the location of the Dino binary. So once you've done that, you can source your zsh-env file to pick up the changes. If you're on Bash, what you need to do is something similar. Basically, what you do is you add in the bin directory for the for home bin and home Dino bin as well, and then source your bash rc. And the same thing here, you would basically download the latest release. So you download the Linux tar-gz and the Linux SHA-256 checksum. And again, what you would then do is check that the tar-gz is okay using the SHA-256 checksum, and then extract the archive and move the files into your bin directory you created. On the Mac, as I said, what you need to do is set a few things up beforehand. You have to install Xcode with xcode-select --install, and that will install the Xcode command line tools which are needed for things like GCC and to actually build applications. You then need to install Rust using Rust up by running this command, and that will set up Rust, which is needed so that you can actually build the project. And what I'm doing here is actually using Homebrew to install the dependencies. So this is the command to actually install the Homebrew package manager on the Mac. And then once it's finished, you can run brew install ffmpeg yt-dlp dino and mpv to install the dependencies. And again, you create the bin directory. And on the Mac, the default shell these days is zsh. So you just need to copy this page code into your zsh-env file, source it. But if you're using Bash, then you would follow the following commands. There is actually, if I come back to Homebrew, when Homebrew finishes, sometimes there is output in the terminal saying you need to edit your shell configuration file to add Homebrew to your system path. So you need to follow that to make sure Homebrew is actually working. Otherwise, you might get an error using brew install. So once you've actually set up, installed the dependencies and created the bin directory, what you're going to need to do is compile and install the scripts. So what you're going to do is create a Git directory in your home, for example. So mkdir-p /git, and then change into that directory by running cd:/git, and then cloning the repository by running git clone and the path to the Rust scripts repository as shown here. You can just paste these commands in the terminal, and then you change into the Rust scripts directory and just run cargo build release. you can then copy the target release files into the bin directory. Sometimes there will be additional files, like a file with a .d extension. If you copy the files into your bin directory, I mean, you can copy them one by one manually instead of the wildcard. But if you accidentally copy the .d files into your bin directory, you can just delete those. So on Freebsd, you can actually install Rust with sudo pkg install Rust, and then install ffmpeg, yt-dlp, and dino and mpv. I'm not sure that there is actually a release for FreeBSD on yt-dlp, so I can't remember. I was a FreeBSD user for years, but I can't remember if you can actually install the latest version of yt-dlp on FreeBSD with the releases. You'll have to check that. But then you basically do the same thing as I showed you for the other systems. If you're running the sh shell, you edit your profile file and add this code for the bin directory. Reload your profile with .tilde/.profile. If you're using the zsh file, it's the same as on NixOS and Mac. You just set the path to the bin directory and source it. And if you're using the bash shell, you would use these commands as shown here. And again, it's the similar setup for how you build the scripts as on the Mac. You create the Git directory, change into it, own the repository, change into the repository, then run cargo build -- release, and then copy the scripts into the bin directory. And once you've done that, you'll have the scripts set up so that you can actually run them in the terminal. So what I'll do is I'll just switch back to relay-mpv, big buck bunny, 4 minutes, dash start, 4 minutes to 4 minutes 45. So sometimes you get the error with the thing. I'm just going to quit that and then play it again, see if I get the error. So I'm not getting the error with a local file and the media source selected. So let me just come back and see if I can trigger the error using when I'm on the media source and playing a local file. Okay, so you can see here, I'm just jumping to different bits. And I'm not actually triggering the error. If I switch to the laptop, now I'm getting the encoding write packet failed error because I'm not on that scene. So let me just come back here and bring up the screenshots, the media source. So I said the three that affect how this sort of works are the restart playback when source becomes available, show nothing when playback ends, close file when inactive. So it may be some kind of combination of these three that kind of triggers the issue when you're not on that scene. So let me see if I can so what I'm gonna do is uncheck. Let's just take a screenshot. Okay, so what I did was actually change the media source while OBS was recording, which it really doesn't like, so I had to quit OBS and restart again. But what I've done is actually an experiment: unchecked restart playback when source becomes active and close file when inactive, to see if that actually makes any difference to if the bug gets actually triggered. So let me just switch back. and see if what happens with those two set off. So what you can see here is it's actually playing here. So this should play from the start. You can see here is this actually, if I switch to the media source, you can see with those settings what's happened is it actually doesn't start from the beginning. Let me just stop that. So what I'm going to do is stop OBS again and then change the settings. Okay, so what I tried doing was unchecking both of these and then also just leaving close file when inactive. And what happens is if you uncheck that, it keeps the file open and you can't switch scenes with OBS Studio. So even though you switch a different scene, it actually chose the media source. So you don't want to do that. So it does look like you want to have these three, restart playback, and these three all checked. Because I've tried the different combinations and they actually change how OBS Studio plays the file. If you uncheck both of these, what happens is OBS Studio will actually play the video before you start playing the video before you switch to the media scene. And if you remove this one, what happens is it doesn't close the file properly and let you switch scenes. So I come to the desktop, screenshots, media source. So it does look like these are you want to have all these checked here. But as I said, even when you do that, sometimes you actually trigger the bug of actually getting a read packet failed error. But for some reason, it doesn't seem to happen so much. With local files when you're on the media scene. It's just when you're actually, if I play that, switch across to the laptop, this may trigger the bug. Yeah. Let's play it a second time. It's not starting. When I switch to the media tab, it does start. Okay, funny hit with nuts. So with local files, you don't get the delay. Actually starting up the video. The only reason why you want to be on a different scene and queue the video up is if you're playing a remote video. If I relay -i elephant stream, see that doesn't cause any issues. I'll come back, play the other clip. I'm not getting the bug. Okay, not getting the bug. If I then play a remote URL, sometimes it can trigger the issue. So I play that now. It's going to take 3 or 4 seconds to actually kick in. Okay, now it's playing. So kind of that's right, let's see if we get the bug actually with another video. So I'm not actually, so the bug seems to actually kind of get triggered when you're on the other scene, which, as I said, you may want to do if you're kind of pre-queuing the video. Okay, so I'm not getting the bug there. Okay, local one. That's a local video. Elephant's Dream. Play the remote URL again. I'm going through this because I'm just trying to figure out you guys what actually triggers the issue. So the issue does actually seem to be triggered when you're in a different scene, and then you switch to the scene with the media source, which I know I did actually recommend doing, but that's what's actually causing the bug. Okay. Okay, so let's actually try some of these different Blender videos. So we've got Elephant Stream. So this is a 2 minute. So let's do 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes. So what you could do is, instead of this grey background that I've actually got here, instead of just black, which looks a bit stark, is you could have a background that says scene start, stream starting or something, which would display before the actual stream cuts in. So imagine this grey blob actually says something more interesting, so that when you sort of wait, it's kind of got something there. So let me just run relay-mpv, paste in the URL. Let's say 1 minute 30, 1 minute 30 to 2 minutes. I'm just going through these permutations just to show you what actually causes the glitch. Right. So you see that's now playing perfectly. I've had my headphones on, sorry if it's me picking that up. Right, and I can quit that. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this again and give it just a bit longer so I can show you play and pause. Right, start end. Okay. So it's going to kick in. So just imagine you had a grey, instead of a grey thing here, you had something more interesting. So I'm going to pause that there. I'm going to play it. So you can see I can play and pause this here, and kind of said the other advantage of this is that you're doing this through the terminal, and you're not having to click on a window and have the like a YouTube video, or if you're sort of capturing this video playing MPV in an actual window, you'd have the heads up display showing up. When you play and paused it, you'd get the kind of overlay showing up, whereas with this method you don't. So as I said, as soon as I click up in the terminal to execute the OBS command script to resume the video, it will start playing instantly. So there you go, you can see I'm pausing it. As soon as I resume it, there's no lag. And I can quit that there. So that looks pretty input Big Buck Bunny. I'm just trying to see, I still haven't triggered the bug with the failed packet write. Okay, relay Elephant Stream. Okay, so you can see there I'm switching between local and remote videos with the media scene active, and it doesn't trigger the bug. The bug only gets triggered when you're in a separate scene, which I know I actually recommended you can do that. So let me come back to the clips. Okay, apple squashy butterfly. So when I run this and I'm in a different scene, it may fail because the pipe is not clean. Okay, so give it a sec. Oh, it's opening it now. Okay. If I come back to the laptop scene again and rerun that command, see if we can trigger the bug. Right, okay, you can see there, writing packet failed. But if I switch back to here, and rerun it, okay, and then rerun it again. It usually happens once you've run the script once and then you run it again in the other scene, it crashes. Okay, quit that. Let me play the llama one again. I'll just play the full clip, starting from the beginning. So it goes kicking in. Okay, so I can pause it. So yeah, definitely looks like the bug gets triggered when you start the stream in another scene. The first time you run the script, it fails with that write packet error, and then you run the script again and it succeeds. And that, as I said, is a issue of the settings in the media source, resume playback, close file. But it does seem like you need all three of those options selected. Otherwise, it sort of causes other issues like video starting to play before you switch to a scene. So kind of the best solution may be you can either, if you're on a separate scene, you may trigger that bug, which gets a bit frustrating, but at least you can pre-queue it so that it's sort of set up. Relay. And remember, I said there's no. The reason I'm using OBS command on the command line is because there is no media controls that come up in OBS Studio when you're actually using pipe instead of a real file. So you don't have a method for pausing and playing the playback of the video clip from within OBS Studio. So that's why you need to use OBS command with the WebSocket so that you can control OBS Studio. So what I should be able to do actually is if I switch to, I can kill this. So I should have been able to. Hang on, let me do OBS stop. Right. And now if I switch across here, I'm just going to kill Emacs. You kill Emacs and restart it because you sometimes get an error. And was going to restart for me. Okay, Emacs decided to be a pain. I was going to show you something. Okay. And that's not going to let me work with it. That's a bit annoying. But what I'll do is I'll just switch across to my notes. So you can execute. Where's the? yeah, my notes. Yeah, you can execute these commands to pause the media source, play it, or stop it. So as I said, the issue is, I'll copy this URL for Big Buck Bunny again. That bug only gets triggered when I'm in another scene. So you can see here, the first time I do it, it may fail. Yeah, writing packet failed. I'll run it again. It will actually clean out the pipe, and you can see it's opening the temp relay. Then when I switch to the media source, it's going to play. If I set this to jump to 4:30 to end at 5, it should actually work when I'm playing in the media source and not trigger the bug. Okay. Okay, so pause that. Start it up again. And then kill it. Okay, so I was just going through all the different kind of permutations as to why you get that issue, and it definitely seems like you only get the issue. It seems to happen more often. Why is that doing that? Oh, bugger off. It only seems to happen. It seems to happen more frequently with remote videos than local ones. Okay, no, still I stand corrected. If I switch to the media source and play local video, it's going to kick in straight away. And I don't trigger the bug. So these are local. And if I switch to remote URL, 3:30, and it should play as well without triggering the bug. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I didn't mind going through all the different permutations of all the settings and what triggers the issue, but it definitely seems like, if I come across to the monitor, it definitely seems like the issue actually gets triggered only when you're on a separate scene and you start media playback, and then you get the pipe error, and you have to run the script again. But at least you know it's actually queued up properly when you're going to switch to the media scene. But if I switch to the media scene here, you'd obviously want something like stream starting, that kind of thing, and then you're going to have a couple of seconds sort of delay. So if I just grab, let's do agent 327 again, and this shouldn't trigger the bug because I'm on the media source. Let's suppose you're actually sort of on the picture-in-picture. Suppose you've got a picture-in-picture thing set up, and you just had you over there, and you had like a blank thing here, with stream starting or something, and so what did we do? Yeah, agent 345, 3 minutes. So let's do it 1 minute in. I can't remember if this is actually the right aspect ratio. I think it may not be. 2 minutes. I think this is a widescreen, whereas the other one wasn't. Okay, no, that did actually trigger the issue. Let me just run it again. Right.
Is it usually this empty?
Yeah, you can see here it's actually cut off, so this isn't properly resized for this example. But if I switch to the media scene, you'll see it's actually, you can see here it's letterboxed, so that's why it wasn't displaying the same aspect ratio. So if I quit that, let's try starting it from the beginning. Playing the whole thing. Oops. Okay, so that's not triggering the issue. But sometimes when you doing different permutations of stuff, it can make the pipe get sort of dirty.
This is 327.
Let me get another one queued up. Okay, so I'll do another one. And another thing to note is you shouldn't try playing, one video is playing, don't start another one, because what it will do is it will it'll try and play two videos at once, and it will. There we go. That's pretty intense. Yeah, so I was going to say, don't, if you're streaming into the pipe, make sure to stop the video before you try and play another stream. Otherwise, you'll get two streams playing over each other, and it will get garbled audio and green screen, and probably make OBS freeze. So what I'll do is I'll play that. So I'm pausing it there. Relay play. That's pretty mad, isn't it? Yeah, so what this allows you to do is, once it's playing, as say, using OBS command, you can pause and play it easily, and it's going to pick up straight away from where you stop the video. So it's perfect for sort of reaction things like, oh my god, did you see that? He just got totally bust up. Yeah. Okay, and I can quit that. Okay, so that's hanging now. Okay, yeah, there we go. Now it's stopped. So that's the other thing is, when you're playing stuff in the terminal, if I scroll back up here, you'll actually see sort of the progress of the video as it's sort of going along. In this case, what I was trying to do is I paused the video of OBS command, and I was pressing Q on the keyboard, and it wasn't quitting, and that's because it was paused with OBS command. So once I set it to play, I could then quit with MPV in the terminal. So yeah, just kind of going through all the different permutations. So let's redo that one from 2 minutes to 2 minutes 30. And as I said, what you can do is, ahead of time, you would basically go through the clips that you want to show and just put them in a text file ready, and sort of like label them, you know, awesome action scene or whatever, so that you can just basically paste them into the terminal. So if I switch to over here, this should play without any issues, hopefully, in the picture-in-picture. No, failed. But you don't get it so much as when you're in another scene. So you can see that video wasn't properly resized in the picture-in-picture. Okay, and so that video was charge. So yeah, I've just been using the Blender videos as examples, as opposed to anything else. Let's have a look at Project Gold. And again, if I do this on the laptop, it probably triggered a bug. So it just seems to be triggered more often when you're not actually in the scene. Okay, and if I switch, if I run that again, it'll work. Right, you can see there, and then I can switch to the media scene, and it's going to start playing. And then when I switch away, it stops. And what you'll notice is here, it's saying when I switch away from the scene without stopping it, it caused this write packet failed error, and that may be one of the causes of the dirty type pipe. So if I run that again, this may fail because of that previous error message. No, okay, I stand corrected, and then right, okay. So it seems to be better to, rather than switching scenes without stopping the video, seems to be cleaner to quit the video in the terminal. As you can see there, when I switched away from the scene before the video had ended, I got this writing packet failed error. But when I quit the video in the terminal using Q, you don't get that error. So will that... let's try just playing this in the media scene. Now get the error. So yeah, sometimes it just gets a dirty pipe for some reason. Okay, and I'll quit that there. So yeah, I was just going through all the different permutations of actually what causes the issue, and the settings in OBS Studio that might be the cause of it. So yeah, the write packet error seems to happen more frequently when you're in another scene apart from the media scene, and that may be due to an issue of how when you switch to the scenes, it kind of opens the resumes the playback. So it doesn't seem to happen so much in the media scene, but you probably want to have something other than this grey thing here. And let me switch across. So yeah, that's the script and how you install everything, and the sort of notes that I went through in actually setting this up, the media source setup, as well as the audio source setup for the desktop audio and the media source, so that you can monitor the audio playback but not record the audio twice. And this is a command that I'm using in Emacs to actually stop Doom mode line now playing, which hangs if you pause the video and locks up Emacs. So you just turn it off and disable it. And those are some of the commands for OBS command, how you switch scenes, and how you can pause and play and stop the media source on the command line. So I'll put links to all this under the video, and hope that helps out.